Welcome to Verbal Tap, the podcast that proves fighting is much easier from outside of the cage. I'm your host today, Raph Esparza, and for the love of God, why are there birds chirping on this fucking introduction?
Raph, I'm going to give you clues to where I am. My blood pressure is lower, my cholesterol is higher, and I'm struggling with multi-syllable words.
If I answered Kansas, would I be correct?
You are correct. Birds chirping you hear. I'm outside on my parents' huge patio, and the birds are just kind of chirping. That's all that's going on in this neighborhood. There's no fire trucks screaming by at 1,000,000 miles an hour every 7 seconds. It's phenomenal.
It sounds like hell. I would not want to be wherever the hell you are. And the worst part is like, not only did you think that going there would be a great idea, but then to bring it on our podcast as if people, we don't get fucking emails that say, Raph, Kev, love the show, need more nature.
Well, no, we don't specifically get those emails, which is a fair point. But, sometimes you have to force art to really add. And, I think it's just the zen that this podcast has been missing.
My God, you are getting dumber. Kev.
I am getting dumber. Raph. I get on a flight Sunday.
You get on a flight Sunday, so you'll be back to civilization then, correct?
One of them moving tubes with the windows and the people with the oxygen thingies.
Now you're doing something worse than actually being stupid. You're pretending to being stupid, so...
Nailing it.
Yeah, no, not really. It's just it's a choice. So, Kev, what have you been up to out there in Kansas?
Went to my Uncle Ref's memorial service. Guy was at Pearl Harbor, which tells you he was old. He was an old dude, rocking it till the end. In 2004, he came out to my graduation party and did shots off an ice luge. So, really dynamic guy. Yeah, he was with my fraternity
They don't say
buddies.
that enough about the Greatest Generation.
No, the Greatest Generation, and they can really drink.
They'll
drink
really you under the table, you pussies.
Then I went to Boise State. Now I'm just back in Kansas City practicing MMA and jiu-jitsu on my nephew.
That's unnecessary. Please don't do that. Because I fear for you more so than your nephew. Kev, explain to people what Boise State is, because I've tried to tell them what you're doing, and every time they're like, it sounds illegal.
Okay, so Boise State is a mock camp, essentially. They bring 500 junior males together, juniors in high school, and they create the government of Kansas and run it for 6 days. There's a lot of like leadership speeches and talks. There's a talent show, they play like rec time, but it's basically...
Wait, I'm so sorry. When I texted Kevin, I was like, hey, what's going on? How are things going? Kevin's like, I'm in the middle of a talent show audition.
Oh God, yes. I was doing the talent show auditions. That was my job. I was watching the talent show auditions.
Which, by the way, is a terrible thing to have ever put you in charge of anything remotely considered talent.
I was mostly just berating them like Simon Cowell. I would just hold up numbers. It was like, you see this? This is a 3. That's what you would be at next year if you practiced. Get the fuck out of this room.
You can't curse at high school kids, though.
Oh, it's summer. Yeah, you can. It's also Kansas. Things are like 20 years before now. Like, think about what you would have thought 20 years ago about that statement.
Oh my God. Kevin went back to the past. We are now enacting Days of Future Past. Kevin has gone back to warn his past self of how dumb he will become.
But you are stepping up huge for the podcast.
Yeah. No, I am.
You're usually, it's usually a 1.5 man show. Mm-hmm. This week, it's more like a 1 1/3. Mm-hmm. You're doing, that would be more. Let's go the opposite way.
You're trying as hard as you can here. Math clearly isn't your strong suit.
Why would I get it then? Why would I make that my metaphor choice there? You're carrying. You've got some amateur cut rate.
Oh no, what's that, Kevin? I'm starting to lose you now? What's that? I should replace you? Okay, that's not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and do that now that I have your blessing. It burns me up on the inside to really lose you, Kev, because you provide so little to this podcast.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to go.
And the one thing that Kevin did ask me, though, off air, was he was like, Raph, whatever you do not replace me with John Evans. So, Kevin.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get replaced with the one person that really could hit strong suits of being like that good-looking, domineering, soft-spoken, beautiful type. I don't want that's my only request, though.
I think you know the blasphemy in your own voice of what it is to compare yourself to John Evans. So I'm going to let you live in your own shame. So I'm going to work really hard and make this happen because we have a show that we promised you guys on a quasi-regular basis. While Kevin, what are you going to do?
I'll probably take a nap out underneath the in the daybed with a light fan on.
Okay. Well, this is as good a time as any. So, ladies and gentlemen, please say goodbye forever and ever to Kevin Phillips.
Thanks, Raph. Love you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So, you may notice Kevin is no longer with us, which is a great thing. But when Kevin's gone, we like to bring on somebody who can fill his place, who looks better than him, is more knowledgeable, and we thought we'd bring back on John Evans. John, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Raph. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Not a problem. I will let you know, Kevin was not happy you were taking over for him.
Why is that? I thought me and Kevin had a thing.
You don't. I hate to be the one to break it to you. Kevin he feels intimidated by you. Not only are you better at him at jiu-jitsu, but you're better looking than him, which really rings a problem to him. But also, I think he just thinks you win at life more than he does.
I mean, that's probably true.
It is.
But a little harsh there.
That's how we operate. For those of you not in the know, John Evans does a great job on his channel. It's BJJBreakdown.com. It breaks down jiu-jitsu matches in a really technical and proficient way to try and educate people on what people are doing during a match. So you take a video of it and then you commentate in the corner, right? On video on YouTube.
Yes. It's, I guess when you put it that way, it sounds rather simple, but there's a lot that goes into jiu-jitsu.
Correct.
And, a lot that is hard to explain or convey just from looking at a video. So I try to give that little bit of extra context, a little bit of extra insider information.
Yeah.
So you can tell now there's a ton of weight being driven from this guy's shoulder into the other guy's face. So it just looks like he's laying there, but it's this guy's head's about to pop off.
There's terrible amount of pressure being applied to their neck or to some region where you're just like, a layman may not tell that.
Yes, so it makes the matches more interesting. So if you don't know exactly what's going on in a particular jiu-jitsu match, no matter how high level or low level it is, then just knowing a little bit more about it really helps a lot.
It really does. And I would highly encourage you guys to go check it out, bjjbreakdown.com. What people may not know right now is that we're actually recording this, not just on audio, but you are putting us on a visual recording as well, right?
We are out there in the cyberspace.
This is terrifying.
Yes, it is.
But, one of the things that we normally do on the show, we do a segment called the 1 minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. Kevin's not here to do this, so I thought if it's cool, maybe we could do it with you. Now, you haven't seen any of this season of The Ultimate Fighter,
correct? So this sounds amazing.
So this is the first experience you will have about this season's Ultimate Fighter.
Yes, I think I know the coaches.
Who are the coaches?
I think it's BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar, right?
100%, everybody. Okay, John.
So how bad could it be, right?
Well, all right. Wait, I don't know. Let's find out.
Jump the gun here.
Now, people have never seen this captured on video, so what you need to know is it's done in exactly 1 minute. Okay.
What's the name of this segment?
Is the 1 minute review of The Ultimate Fighter.
Okay, all right.
So I want you to go ahead and time it.
Okay.
Okay. So the way it works is, great. The way it works on here is Kevin usually starts off by saying,
warning. This is the 1 minute review of The Ultimate Fighter. Brace yourselves, because here we go.
Previously on The Ultimate Fighter, the vaguely Kanye West-looking fighter Corey Anderson beat up some hillbilly. Roger Zapata made some staggeringly simple generalizations about how simple the sport of wrestling is. But today, wrestler Ian Stevens has the chance to avenge the sport of wrestling and prove Zapata wrong. The Ultimate Fighter? Last pick Zapata takes on the first pick Stevens, but BJ Penn is optimistic. Yeah, Ian is the favorite, but Zapata, he's gonna do it. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. And in the first convoluted metaphor of the episode, Ian informs his team that Zapata may be here to bark, but I'm here to bite. Cool story, bro. Frankie's pretty confident about Ian's skill, as is Ian. Pretty sure everybody thinks I'm gonna go ahead and get an instant takedown, but I want him to think the shot's coming, and then I want to surprise him with the right or a head kick. Oh, awesome. Back from commercial, Zapata describes to Tim how hard it was to leave his newborn daughter to do the show, and that he has to think back to the brief good times he spent with her, like that time she peed on him, to which Tim responds, yeah, that's cool, I gotta take a fat shit. Fight to live. BJ brings a surprise into the locker room. Hey guys, you may recognize the guy to my left as my former nemesis, now turned BFF, Matt Hughes, who's here because he has nothing better to do. Matt Hughes then tells us he's formed a great relationship with BJ over the years, despite losing 2 out of the 3 times they fought against each other. Not that he's counting. Roger Zapata then takes a moment to soak in the advice of the legends in the room, while the old guys then proceed to beat the living shit out of him using wrestling. Too bad it's super simple, huh? Wonder if now would be a good time to tell Matt Hughes what a simple sport wrestling really is, huh, Zapata? Zapata takes us through his fight day routine. On the day of the fight, I take it easy, and then I eat some jerky. Then, as they wrap my hands, I'm like, oh shit, son, I'm fighting. Then I hit some pads, and then I do some cheerleading stretches, and I'm at 85%. Then Coach BJ wakes up from a nap as I hit some more pads, and I'm at 95%, which I guess means I fight at 95% most of the times. Ian tells us that he builds confidence from round to round and becomes a different fighter each round, which strangely sounds like what a schizophrenic would say. Zapata then tells us he walks out to the cage, he channels his inner Ric Flair, yelling, woo! And then I do a cartwheel. Then during the commercial, Corey shares his thoughts on who's going to win. Ian and Roger, fight going, and then he hold it down for Team Red, and he going to take over the cage and run the ground pound. He's going to walk out victorious. And then Ian tells us something about finding the edge and pushing past your limits by drinking Nas and doing a pull-up. Wow, amazing. Back from commercial. All right, you fucking guys, this is 2 fucking 5-minute rounds. Then if it doesn't work, we go to a sudden victory round, and the winner of that round wins the fight. Usually. So good luck and drink fucking Nas. Steve Mazzagatti welcomed us to the fight. All right, now bring it on, come on. Ian comes out kinking, and then we're at the cage. Ian takes down Roger with what looks like a full Nelson slam. Roger seems a little dazed. Ian capitalizes, takes Zapata's back. Ian's pushing him up against the cage as Roger starts hitting some elbows, and Steve Mazzagatti does not like the angle on those elbows, giving Roger his first warning, then his second. Even with his back compromised, Roger is still turning back as much as he can to throw some bows. Meanwhile, it's a coaching yell-off as Team Penn versus Team Edgar can't stop yelling out instructions. At the end of the round, Mazzagatti goes up and asks Roger if he understands what he's saying about the elbows. Roger just kind of shrugs and says, yeah, I guess. End of round 1. Team Penn and Team Edgar are very concerned for their fighters. Ian pulls the back of Frankie Edgar's head and pulls him close and whispers, was that my round? Frankie pulls his head back and whispers, yes. And I'll never let go. Round 2, and it's more of the same. Ian's got Roger's back and constantly turns and tries to hit Ian with his elbow. And that's about it. No, wait, Zapata gets a trip toward the end of round 2. End of round 2, fun fact. This is the only fight to have more illegal strikes thrown than significant strikes. The more you know. And the winner of the fight is, wait, we're going to a third. And Dana's really happy about that. Good for you, you fucking judges. Round 3. Hey, John, ask me if we're up against the cage again. Are we up against Yes, because another 2 minutes of the same exact goddamn thing. Ian shoots in, and Roger's dropping more elbows than Macho Man Randy Savage. Only now, Mazzagatti has seen enough. At the 2-minute mark, he gives Roger his last warning before ultimately deciding it's time to make things interesting and deduct 1 point, downward elbow. And Coleman lets out a battle cry, oh no! Ian drifts back to his corner and takes a second to recover as his head looks like something out of a horror film. BJ, he's done! Finish him! And the bald father is not impressed. He's gonna fucking milk this. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He's exhausted. Which is enough to prompt Dana to leave the set. Mazzagatti then tells Zapata he warned him as Zapata looks at him exactly what he wasn't doing. Mazzagatti closes by telling Zapata not to argue with him. BJ thinks that the point deduction has taken the life out of Roger. Oh, that point took the wind out of his sails. And now we're at a decision and a break. Back from commercial, we hear performance highlights through the eyes of Dana White. Basically, Ian fucking Stevens does fucking nothing, but Zapata does a lot of stuff. Zapata opens up a cut on Stevens. We go to round 3, which makes me fucking happy. Then out of nowhere, Mazzagatti's like, 1 point. We find out Dana was so angry, he retreated back to his fortress of solitude to watch the rest of this fight. Fucking Mazzagatti. Then, just to add more confusion to the proceedings, Mazzagatti tells us, your winner by decision, Ian Zapata. Jesus, Mazzagatti, you can't get anything right today. Mazzagatti then informed Zapata he was actually the winner despite all odds and math and logic. And that's enough to bring Dana back to this set, angrier and more confused than ever.
Team Edgar walks over to the judges to give them a piece of their minds. Then Dana lays into them. Dana then tells him, fuck, he lost a fucking point. How does he lose the fight? That's not fucking possible. I know. I took math all the way up to second fucking grade. BJ tells Zapata to leave before they reverse the decision. Dana tells everyone to go back to their locker rooms. Team Red is in disarray, but Ian takes the loss in stride and tells his team to calm down. Frankie says, I don't think I'd be able to do that. And Zapata does some good sportsmanship by repeating some elbows in the locker room, telling us he's a freestyle striker. You ain't gonna hose me and get the win. I'll elbow you from everywhere, including the illegal parts. Zapata includes his terrible pro wrestling promo by saying, look at his face. Look at mine. Is I bleeding? Wait, my grammar don't make no sense no more, so I'll just end with a woo, because I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. And BJ levels with us. Yeah, I thought Ian was going to win. Then he walks out and tells people I had to wipe off the champagne off of his face. Later, Dana tells us how the decision was made. So, Sun victory, point deduction, 2 judges, 1 Judge Stevens, 10-8. 2 judges, Sabata, 9-9. They're all fucking tied. Then they ask the judges to circle who they thought won, and they circle Zapata, even the one who fucking gave it to Stevens. It doesn't make any sense. I'm taking fucking crazy pills here, people. Then describes to us his real feelings. First of all, let me say, I think Zapata won that fight. I can't stand wrestlers who do nothing, but on the flip side, I think the guy who gets the 10-8 should win the fight. So really, I just entirely contradicted what I just said about Zapata winning. My point is, fuck the judges. Congratulations, Team Penn picked the next fight. And it's going to be Anton Burston versus Pat Walsh. And BJ wants Anton to take on Pat before he learns anything new. And Dana's got a favorite in the fight. I think Pat Walsh is in trouble, but this is Boston versus Philly, and Walsh is from Boston, and I'm a Boston guy. So once again, I just said a contradiction. Dana closes out by telling Zapata, yeah, Karma won that match. You didn't. Good job. Next time on The Ultimate Fighter, Team Edgar is still butthurt about the Ian Stevens decision. The teams are yelling at each other in their free time. Then Pat Walsh takes on BJ's number 1 pick, Anton Burston. Next time on The Ultimate Fighter.
That was racist and offensive, and I'm pretty sure it was over a minute.
No. Can you show it to me? We have it on camera. Do we have it there?
No, it was...
Oh, you didn't time it.
No, it started at 7:06.
Can't prove it.
It is 7:14.
Yep, can't prove it. So anyway, that's the... Are you inclined to watch the show now?
Was that the entire episode?
Yeah, that was all the episode boiled down into 1 minute.
Or 1 minute?
1 minute. Okay. What are you quoting here for? Okay, so clearly John is all like, what does this work? I am so confused how time and space works.
But you know what? Let's give John a second to regain his thoughts, and we'll be right back with World's coverage. Okay, that was a really good 1 minute review right there. I think we're going to keep going along. Hold on real quick, guys. It looks like we're getting a phone call, which is really strange. We don't normally take phone calls. This isn't that kind of show. But oh, yep, it's Kevin. All right, let's take it. Kevin, come on.
Raph? You replaced me with John Evans, didn't you?
Yeah, I totally did.
Such a bastard.
Dude, you know the deal. You know that John is next in line.
I'm taking my birds and I'm leaving.
Oh, please, don't take the birds.
Shut up, birds, quiet it down, because Raph replaced me with John Evans.
Jeez, way to hit me where it hurts. You knew the one thing I couldn't live without, which is birds chirping on my podcast.
The birds haven't stopped, which has me only 50% nervous they prefer John Evans to Raph.
Kev, do me a favor. I've got this. Let me just do the podcast. Go away.
He probably even smells good. Fuck you. I'm out of here. Okay.
Goodbye, Kevin. We now return to our World's coverage with BJJ Breakdown's John Evans.
John and I actually ended up going to Worlds this weekend, right?
Yes.
So tell people what is Worlds and what happens there.
The World Jiu-Jitsu Championship is in Long Beach, California, once a year, and it's a great event. If you've never been there, then I mean, really, you're missing out. All the top athletes in Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and maybe not Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, they are there, and they're there to watch some people get it on in their pajamas. That sounded better in my head than it. Yeah, no, but there's a lot of great matches, and a lot of people come up from Brazil or even from Japan, all over the world to compete, and you just see all the top guys going for it, and it's all belt levels too. So from white belt, which I think was on Thursday this year, all the way through the black belt finals, which was on Sunday.
Now, John, do me a favor. Tell me what was, if people could only look at one match from Worlds, what would it be and why?
One match from Worlds. Maybe that would have to be the same match that has been the
The one that you're thinking?
no, not the grotesque one. That one is fantastic though. But probably it's the same story that's been played out over the last 3 years, which is it's always in the open weight division, black belt finals, and it's Buchecha, who is the world champ currently in his weight division and the open weight, and his opponent is Rodolfo Vieira, who is, I think, in 2011 maybe or 2010, he took the open weight title, and he actually beat Buchecha. And so he wins his division every single year, and he goes on to the finals against Buchecha in the open weight division every single year, and same thing with Buchecha. So exciting matches.
Now, their history, like, Rodolfo is like 1-5, but I don't think that's accurate in the caliber of competitive spirit that is between these two fighters. Am I correct?
Absolutely. The fights are really close. They fought in the World Pro Jiu-Jitsu Cup, I believe it is, which is in Abu Dhabi. It just happened a couple of months ago. I think you watched it with me. Yeah, a bit. And I mean, that match was insane. It came down to literally the last 10 seconds and a sweep at the end. So that's how nail-biting the matches are. Buchecha seems to be able to pull it out every single time, but they're definitely close.
Is it because, like, people say this about Buchecha, I think, and I find it to be true a lot, which is you don't know when the explosive action is going to happen with him.
It's true.
It's typically in the last minute, which makes it uber exciting.
It can be. He's humongous. He's just a big guy. I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4", and he's just a mountain of a guy, but he moves like a featherweight. He's just running all around when he wants to. Yeah. Sometimes I think the reason that you don't see him moving around so much in some of the tougher matches for him is because they know how athletic he is, and his opponents will try to lock him down and limit his movement. So then you'll typically see him. Sometimes he's too tired too. It's a lot of matches against really top-notch competitors, but usually you'll see him just go for it within the last minute or so, and it's fireworks. So.
Yeah, and that was a truly great match to watch. I do have to ask you, who impressed you the most at Worlds this year?
There's 3 people that stand out to me. One would be Keenan Cornelius, because even though he got a really bad DQ call, he beat Leandro Lo pretty straight up. He's bigger than Leandro Lo, but it's his first year at black belt. Right. And Leandro Lo he's the man. He beat him, and he did very well against Buchecha. But then ultimately got DQ'd in his weight division too. So we didn't even get to see what he could do in his weight division. It was kind of a really questionable call.
Now, talk to me through this, because I think the consensus for most people is, and you helped explain this to me, which is that there's an invisible line on someone's chest. Am I right here?
Yeah, we all have it.
Okay, there's an invisible line. The IBJJF has decided every one of us has an inherent invisible line, and if your foot crosses that line...
Yep, if your foot is coming from the outside of your opponent's leg and crossing over their thigh and crosses that center line of their belly button area, then that is knee reaping and it's DQ.
Now, why is that dumb? Because I think there is frustration with people in that rule. Can you explain maybe why there is frustration, and what are your feelings on that?
Absolutely. It's probably like one of the most debated rules in jiu-jitsu. It's really, I personally think it's a terrible rule. I understand why it's in place, but it's just implemented so poorly. Any type of tournament.
Why is the rule implemented? Is it to protect people?
It's to protect. It's to protect the knee. Back in old school Brazil, I guess, when they were just starting to do high-level tournaments, then there was no knee reaping. Like, they didn't know any of that stuff. So people were just doing it. Right. And then maybe trying to footlock, like a heel hook off of it. And in the gi, it's very hard to escape a heel hook, and it's very easy to injure someone. The danger with a heel hook, which you'll see in MMA, but not so much in jiu-jitsu, because you typically don't feel pain until you've blown out the knee.
Okay.
So it can be very dangerous. It's a very dangerous technique, and if people, especially in a tournament, get overzealous and just crank it, you can really hurt somebody. So a lot of people's knees were getting messed up. And one of the best places to footlock someone, whether it be a heel hook, toe hold, straight ankle lock, is from the knee reap position, where you're going around the outside of your opponent's thigh and crossing underneath the far leg of your opponent with both of your legs.
Okay. Now, I hear you explaining these things. To a person who doesn't understand jiu-jitsu, and I don't know why they'd be watching this, but let's assume they were, and that's maybe their first time, and they see that this guy gets DQ'd for putting his foot in the wrong place at the wrong time. Do you not feel that is harder to try and get people excited about this sport, or is it just kind of a necessary evil that we have to go through?
I think it's definitely, even if it was a necessary evil, which I don't believe that it is, I think that is a huge detractor to the sport. People, he's this new...
He's so hot right now.
Jiu-jitsu guy.
You're welcome.
And so people that don't even watch jiu-jitsu want to see his matches.
Yes.
Because he's done things that other people in jiu-jitsu have never done, like winning the Grand Slam at purple belt, being one match away from winning it in brown belt, and arguably getting just screwed by the refs on that one. Yeah. And just killing people at black belt. This is his first year, and killing some of the biggest names.
And making it very exciting.
Very
accessible to people who may not get every element of jiu-jitsu. And I'm going to let you finish that thought, but I also want you to implement Worm Guard. Where are we with that right now? How effective was it, and did people see it coming? So anyway.
They should have seen it coming, because you put out a video about it before
the Worlds.
I mean, that doesn't give you a lot of time to test it, and I'm sure probably a lot more arrogant jiu-jitsu people that were in his division are thinking, like, I don't need to learn this guy's stuff, or maybe it's crap. You never know. Like, maybe he's just saying, like, yeah, I'm putting this out, but he's not really going to use it.
But isn't it crazy to you that when you hear him put out, like, hey, guys, check out my Worm Guard, and then it's like a trailer to a movie that you see happening, and that it's actually super effective when it was being used for certain of his opponents?
Yeah, I mean, hats off to him. I'm not sure if he created it himself or if it was the people there at Atos with him, or other, like, maybe he has like a small group of people that they all try to bounce ideas off of and come up with new things. But that's exciting though, and he used it. That's what he used against Leandro Lo to beat him. Yep. It's hard to deny that. So I think. I mean, that's really cool to me. Like, I love innovation like that. Yeah. And typically it takes, I think that's part of what people want to see with Keenan. Like, it takes people many years of evolving a technique and, tournament testing it to make sure that the moves work. Like, he just went out there and did it. And it's like, I haven't seen that before. It's insane. It's a fantastic technique though. I mean, it worked very well, clearly. Yeah. So, I think that's awesome. But then to see him get DQ'd for knee reaping, and you're just like, really? Like, now we can't even see him go on. Yeah. I don't think people should get DQ'd unless there's something malicious involved, right? Like, if someone...
How would you define that? Yeah.
Well, if someone's knee reaping, you can knee reap without heel hooking. And that's really... like in Metamoris, they allowed knee reaping. Mm-hmm. And so by that standard, you would think, well, it's so dangerous. Everyone's knee must have gotten blown out. A lot of people put the knee reap position in. Everyone's knee was fine.
Yep.
So that's a pretty solid argument. Yes, you can hurt the knee from just the knee reap position. If you really know what you're doing and you're really trying to damage the knee, it is possible. Mm. It's maybe at the highest level not probable, and also if they're putting a lot of specific pressure on there, if you are a well-versed ref, you should be able to recognize that and stop it. And you could probably stop it without giving a DQ. You could say, hey, I'm going to, take a point away or DQ you next time you do that, right? A warning. So, which at a very high level, you don't want to see people get DQ'd on a technicality. Right. It's bad for business. So, I mean, I think they could just do it so many different ways, or just they could allow it, like it worked in Metamoris. You don't have to heel hook off of it, but it's great for other footlock positions and doesn't have to necessarily hurt the knee. So I think
one thing that is interesting to me, and not knowing or seeing this as much, is there are certain rules that they kind of make allowances the further up you go. Is that something that you think at a black belt level could just be a little bit more like, all right, we're just letting you go? You know the risks involved with that, or is that too dangerous for that level as well?
You know, there is that argument that, well, you're a black belt. If you don't know how to defend something, then maybe you shouldn't be competing at the black belt level, right? And I think that's a valid argument. There are some particular positions that can be much more dangerous than other ones, and when you talk about danger, you're not just talking about like, oh yeah, like he might get injured and be out for a week or something.
Right.
It's like, okay, he's
Permanent
injured, it's surgery, he might not walk again, type of thing.
Yeah.
Those ones maybe you have to go back and look at, right?
Yeah.
And so especially with like the heel hook, but they allow the heel hook without the gi, where it's easier to turn out of it. But with the gi, I guess so much friction, they're saying you can't escape. People get real stubborn. It's a tournament. It's a big tournament where they're not thinking so much about their well-being, as you can see from the Michelle Nicolini final.
Oh God! I will say this, and you guys don't know this, and I'll look here for this. John's got some problems in his head, and I didn't see the arm get broken during the Nicolini fight, but John sends me the video and is like, "You've got to see this. It's amazing." Like, John, like, what? Why did you enjoy that so much? Like, what was it about that was so?
The fascinating part about that is that, okay, so it's the finals, it's the worlds. This is the thing that people train. If you're fighting in the gi in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this is what you look forward to all year. This is the one thing. This is your Super Bowl, right? So you're in the finals. It's the weight division finals. It's not the open weight finals, but it's still the finals. It's black belt.
Sure.
And this might be your only shot. You know, maybe you're not competitive next year. Maybe you're injured. Maybe you're too old after a couple of years of being injured or whatever.
Sure.
And this might be it for you. So you're there, and, you know, you're just going to give it your all.
Yeah.
And this girl knew she was in horrible danger and felt her arm being pulled from a terrific position. And she was just like, all right, I'm up on points. I'm just going to let this puppy go. And that thing got dislocated in a horrific manner, and she kept fighting through it.
She did.
And it was
she one of the three people that you were impressed by? Is that you were gonna? Okay, so
absolutely.
She's the second. And John is such a trooper that anytime someone's mentioned the technicality of how this move works, John has literally let people try it on him to show him, because he's that enthusiastic about this move.
It's an interesting move. It's one that you don't see too much. In fact, I was in the stands, so I didn't have as close of a view as I thought I would have. So when she got in the position, I thought Michelle Nicolini, who put it on this girl Tammy, I thought she didn't know the position that well. So she went after the submission, felt like she couldn't get it and let it go. When in reality, she totally knew the position. She pulled on the arm bent the wrong way.
Just even describing it was like,
it was terrible.
It was awful to see.
And just kind of flopped around. And then there's only so much you can do with that, right? She's still not tapping. She didn't scream, which could be a verbal tap.
It could be. Thank you.
Could be a verbal tap.
Appreciate the plug.
TM. But so she didn't do anything. She was just a trooper. She just let that thing go and was like, screw it. I'm here. And you know, what do you do? You broke this person's arm or dislocated it severely.
Yeah.
And they're just like looking you in the eyes, like your move, right? Like, so you gotta, I mean, that would be really weird for me if that happened I dislocated someone's shoulder in the Nogi Worlds one year. And just because I thought he was more flexible than he was, you know, so I kept pushing him. Some people have a lot more mobility in the shoulders. So I kept pushing it, and then I felt the whole thing go out of place, and it kind of turned my stomach a little bit, because you don't really want to injure people, you know, like not. It's just a tournament, like right. you know, and I didn't know how bad it was either at the time. So fortunately they popped it back in. He was fine, but it was just like, Jesus, why would you let this?
So you were this person. And you sent me this video, like, check this out.
Oh,
do you admit maybe having a problem? Do you need to see somebody about this? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you have anger issues?
I need to see more of these fights. That's what I need to see because they are. It's exciting.
It
you know
is-
that
it is
girl's
exciting.
got some cojones. Just let
She
let
does.
your arm break and just stare you in the eyes and like,
God.
what are you gonna do after that?
But you know the
It's
worst? It's
intimidating.
just the flop. It was the flop of the hand where
was
you just
terrible.
said, So that was something that was kind of interesting, at least from my level. And you mentioned there was a third in this. Who was the third and why?
The third was Lucas Lepre.
Okay.
And just because he was so dominant in this tournament, he met in the finals Toshi. He's a Brazilian guy. I think he lives in Japan now, but he's a very exciting fighter, really good athlete. And this year he had bleached his hair blonde, and I think it was like a Dragon Ball Z thing. I'm not joking. Like, I think he was like going Super Saiyan on this.
I have heard rumors of Dragon Ball Z being
Yeah,
very close
I
to
think.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, well, it is.
Is that?
It
I
is.
don't know. I don't watch.
Oh, absolutely. You power up, and then you go. I don't know what I'm saying.
I feel so bad for some of these jiu-jitsu nerds.
But this guy beat Lucas Lepre in the World Pro, the Abu Dhabi World Pro, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they always are very, very close matches. And Lucas Lepre met him in the finals after running through his opponents and beat him. I think it was 20-0. I mean, it was just a landslide.
yes.
Yeah. And I just have never seen anyone dominant like that in that weight division at black belt. So I thought that was really impressive to me.
Interesting. Cool. Do you have overall impressions of what you saw? What was, we talked about most impressive, best match that people had to see. Were there any other notable things that you did see over at the Worlds?
I mean, there was the Tammy Nicolini match,
So gross.
which was brutal. Other than that, I mean, it was really disappointing to see Keenan get DQ'd.
Yeah.
It was good to see JT Torres get to the finals.
That was amazing.
That was great.
And do you feel we're getting closer to an American taking this? Are we getting there? Because, I mean, I feel we're on the cusp of it because we are getting certain people. The problem is, at least from my view, the people who are the top in the elite of each of those bracket categories have really tough competition.
It's true. I mean, I don't see an American winning Rafa Mendez, Cabrinha weight division, or Guy Mendez, and who did he fight in the finals this year? But I really don't see any Americans winning those lower weight divisions anytime soon. I mean, our best bet there is probably Justin Rader, who he'll meet Cabrinha in the finals of the Nogi Worlds pretty much consistently. He's got a decent shot, but I mean, it's just rough,
I will say this: if you guys listen to a really, really cool interview that I believe is going to go up on Open Mat Radio, our friends over there, Justin Rader might have suggested he's kind of done with the IBJJF.
I think I'm actually surprised a lot more athletes aren't done with it already, because just because things like the DQ can happen, and I mean, this is your livelihood. You can make or break your career in the IBJJF because you will base your income nearly on how you do in such a big tournament. Like, you open a gym, that's the ultimate goal, and you get students from that. So if you win, it's a big deal. If you get DQ'd, that's huge. Yeah. So, it's, and you don't get paid. That's the main thing.
That's the hardest part, I think, about that, is just when people aren't getting paid, it's a different story. And I think that's why Justin was alluding to that he is doing more MMA, because not like that's a great career
but at
kind
least
of
you
thing,
get paid,
but
though.
you do get paid, as opposed to here you're kind of like, ooh. Okay. Well, I think that we've got a good conversation about Worlds right now. What we're going to do is we're actually going to do another video segment, and we've invited John to come join us. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on there. But we're going to do a video Breakdown with a couple of our friends from a few different podcasts, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about Worlds because honestly, it is hard to talk about it without seeing it.
It is.
And John was so great; he got some really cool footage, so hopefully we'll be able to splice some of that in.
Absolutely.
And there's just so many more stories that we wanted to talk about, but we did want to dedicate a good portion of what we do here to kind of bring that up to people who maybe didn't get the chance to see it, and I think that would really elaborate people's understanding about it. So I really thank you for taking your time out.
No,
and you know what, Kevin, as far as I'm concerned, no longer on the
That's it.
podcast.
Okay.
You're now on.
All right.
Congratulations, John.
Oh, thank you. You made the right decision.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that. He's
clear.
already a yes man. This podcast just infinitely got better. So we're going to sign off for now, but thank you guys for listening. And we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, I decided today to bring on somebody who I've really admired his work. I know you've all seen his work, and quite frankly, he is doing some of the best film work in jiu-jitsu, maybe the premier person right now working, unquestionably. But I wanted to bring on our good pal, Stuart Cooper. Stuart, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing very good, thanks. How are you doing?
Pretty well, my man. Now, let me ask this before we even get started. Everybody knows that you're making these incredible documentaries about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
How many do you have in the pipeline right now?
I think I've got something like 15 in the pipeline
Jesus.
that are actually shot. So I have to edit 15. And I've got I've arranged another like 10 to shoot as well. So that's going to be like 25. So I've got a lot to come like after this. Pretty soon, on the 20th, I'm shooting surfing BJJ documentary with Clark Gracie and Joel Tudor. So that's going to be very abstract, and mixing jiu-jitsu with surfing. So
and the weird part is, I've heard, and I think even from Clark as well, but a lot of the people say the similarities between surfing and jiu-jitsu. Now, I'm definitely not great at jiu-jitsu, but I've never even tried surfing based on my lack of coordination skills. Is that something that you found and tried?
Oh, I tried. I went up to Recife with Bradley with Steamer, and we were surfing. I'm not kidding, because I was a skateboarder, when I was younger, and like I was always had good balance, and I've been an athlete my whole life, and I just felt, I'll jump on the board straight away. I couldn't even sit on that damn board. I kept on falling off. I was like a drowning seal. It really is. It's hard, man. It's hard.
Now, you mentioned
I can see how it definitely, crosses over to jiu-jitsu with the balance and just going with the flow, and feeling for the movements. So you've really got to relax, and I want to get into it, but I've got so many other things going on.
I was about to say, I was like, you've got those 15 things that you need to edit just on the pipeline. So, okay, let me see this. I'm doing the math in my head. There's 15 projects. So we should see that up in, 3 days? All of them, right? Edited and polished?
Yeah, I wish I was that fast of an editor. I'm fast at editing, but, man, they're going to be going up over the course of the year.
Sure. And the thing is that do you get that from people? Do you get that expectation that it needs to be an immediate release, like as soon as you film with somebody? Is that difficult to kind of work around sometimes?
So, not really. Only there's one comment every month, we've waited long enough for this. When's this going to be out? And I'm like, you've waited long enough. This guy has no idea what I've got on my plate. Has no idea what's been going on in my life the last 3 months. So
I do like that they're telling you we've waited long enough, as if
we have waited long enough for you.
They've had a countdown on their website, and they're like, "What gives?
Yeah,
what the shit, Stu?
What are you doing, Stu? Why are we waiting so long? I had it with my Kurt Asiander one." Which is fair enough, because I did promise people it'd be out a week ago. But, you know, I didn't realize I was going to quit my job in Thailand and then make the move to here, Oregon Bend. Then I got a staph infection. Then I was at the Mundials unexpectedly. So all these film things combined, then my laptop shut down. And I was thinking I'm going to have to buy a new laptop. But, you know, that's something that we'll do. With the funds from Indiegogo, I'm getting a new fast computer so I can get these videos out as quick as possible, you know?
Now, that's great. You just brought up the Indiegogo. Tell us a little bit about that and how that came together.
Well, the idea of Indiegogo is I wrote a little summary and I made a little video of, because people were under the impression that I was making money from making jiu-jitsu documentaries, and anyone who's involved in, you know, the jiu-jitsu media, they know that there's not much money in jiu-jitsu.
No.
No, there's no money there. The sport's growing, so, you know, hopefully big things are going to happen. So I just make ends meet with those logos that you see at the beginning. That's another thing I get from people. Too many logos at the beginning. It's like, do you want to see this video? Because otherwise it wouldn't be made. You know? Yeah, the aim was to make 20 40-minute documentaries in 12 months. And I wanted to raise $50,000 which a few people said, wow, why is he asking for 50,000? It's like, man, that's not much.
Yeah.
That really isn't much at all. That's low budget filmmaking. It might sound a lot, but that's really not a lot. So far I'm almost up to 17. So if I raise up to 20, I've got 18 days left to raise money. I'll be able to release probably a good five videos for free, but then I'm going to have to go pay-per-view. I'm going to get my website changed and just pay-per-view, and it's going to be like $1 or $1.99 to watch the video, which is fair enough, you know.
Now, walk me through this. Why is it that you think there is so much resistance, not just for making money in jiu-jitsu per se, but why do you think people... Is it because they're not used to having to pay for anything? But why do you think that people just don't know that these things actually cost money and time?
Yeah, well, maybe it's because, like, so far on my YouTube channel, I've released 120 videos for free, and this will be 121. It's 43 minutes long, the Kurt Osiander one. So there's going to be another 4 for free. So they're so used to me releasing free content, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm like telling the truth. You know, like I make my money from wedding videos, and this is a hobby. So Jesus. Maybe they're used to getting it for free, and I don't know. I mean, I've tried to make it as easy as possible for people to donate, but I can see the stats. Only 330 people have donated. 330. Mm-hmm. So my average video will get, 30,000 views in like 1 week, and then I'll creep up to 100,000 views. So, like, if all of you guys, even 30,000 in 1 week, and I write it in the description underneath, please just, I don't want to say please, like, it would be nice if you could donate $1 if you watch this video and want to see me continue and make more. But I don't know. People are, maybe it's like, I don't know what's going through what people are thinking.
I do find it.
Like, I will donate, but I'll do it later, and they forget. I don't know.
I do find it fascinating, though, that when you are doing these documentaries and you are traveling around, that people aren't really figuring in the cost of time, figuring in the cost of, like, you're traveling everywhere.
Everywhere, man.
Can you tell me how many times you've been on a plane within the past 9 months?
Oh shit! I've lost count. Let me think. The last 9 months, it's got to be over 20. It has to be.
And I mean, we're not just talking about going from like LA to Vegas. We're going worldwide. You were at ADCC, right?
Yeah, I was in China for a week, and that, oh my god, China. Yeah. Just not in a rush to go back there.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
But it's just smelly. The food is... I don't want to disrespect anyone in China if you live there. If you like it, you like it. Each to their own, But I've got to say, it was a bit strange having the event in China because it was no audience there whatsoever, and food was disgusting.
See,
And
it was hard for us watching it here because A, they don't ever have their shit together whenever it's time to show you video of these things.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at a live stream and you might as well be using dial-up from 97 to watch this event.
The live stream was terrible.
It's really rough. And not only that, but then you've got the organization skills of a 9-year-old because there's no consistency. At one point, you're watching a match, and then at another point, they bring in a halftime celebration yoga / Tai Chi seminar that we're all looking at each other like, oh, is it over? Nope. It can't be over because we haven't done these matches yet. And so for us, it is difficult to see it. So that's why when I see something like your videos, and you have like a 4-part series for the ADCC, correct?
Yeah. And I'm going to release that. But then yesterday, someone just sent me a link. Budo Videos are now, they've somehow got hold of the footage and are releasing the DVD.
I did
so. I'm hoping they don't have a problem with me releasing this 4-part documentary because it's for the good of the sport, and this is going online for free. So I'm just raising, I'm just spreading, jiu-jitsu, which we all want to see, and trying to get the sport to the next levels. That's one thing I don't understand is why these big jiu-jitsu companies like IBJJF and whenever I try and film something, they're straight onto me and it's telling me I'm not allowed. I'm like, I'm doing a good thing for you guys for free.
Yeah.
Why are you so against me doing like trying to promote the sport? It's crazy to me.
And I'll put this out there, and this is why as much as I love the sport, I love that I don't make a living off of the sport.
Yeah.
Is because when I go to somewhere and I'm filming, say it be at a tournament, and they have these really crazy rules, the joke I even said to you, but I say amongst my friends is, oh no, what's the worst thing that could happen? People find out about the sport?
Yeah.
Oh no, we could potentially make it more popular and not a niche sport where our athletes don't make any money. What a terrible plan.
It's crazy. I mean, people, they're going on about the rights. Oh, we have the rights to this, even though you filmed it. And it's like, what? How do you have the rights to it? I filmed this fucking thing.
Yeah.
I edited it, I filmed it. So fingers crossed I don't get it taken off the internet. So.
I mean, well, let's put it this way. If somebody's really going to come after you, we are not afraid to publicly shame them for trying to hold stock footage, because here's the thing, and this is why I bring up the shitty broadcast of it, is because when we're trying to watch it, you have footage that is in way better picture quality than most things we've seen. So for me, there's such a high value in that footage because, the ADCC is very prestigious. It has some of the best matches, some of the best athletes, and to think that you can't A, see it, or B, you have to see it under these following guidelines is insane.
Yeah, well, these big companies, I see how they work. They shoot with these big broadcast cameras that are like 10 times the price of my camera. Yet the results of my cameras are 20 times better in terms of quality than theirs. And then I'm able to move around and get other cutaway shots of them warming up backstage and really capture the feel of backstage and then warming up and close-ups of the face of, them being focused or nervous. And it gets more creative, but they just have this, static, these static cameras shooting on the mat. And there's just no creativity there. And it's amazing the quality difference. Even though that camera costs so much, it's bad quality.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's pixelated. It's just not good,
What is it that they're mostly doing wrong? I mean, you don't necessarily have to go into depth on that, but I notice a big thing that I've always appreciated about yours is not only the color correction that you're doing to it, but there seems to be a great element of style and editing prowess with it. It's a very difficult and tricky thing to explain to people who don't necessarily do those things on a regular basis, but that's why I'm so impressed by what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, editing, I love shooting it, and as I'm shooting it, I'm thinking in the editing the whole time. So I spend a lot of time in the editing, and the only subjects I was good at school, I'm not an academic person. I think there's academic people and then there's artistic people. I always got like A's in arts, and when it came to like mathematics, I didn't do too good, and science didn't do too good, but I was always good at sports and arts. Those two things. So,
so you were essentially beating up yourself throughout. You were bullying yourself around every once in a while. That's a tricky dichotomy to have, my friend.
So I just, I think editing comes very naturally to me because growing up, I was always painting, I was always drawing, and that's how I see editing. I'm very, very creative, and that's like my new drawing. Like every time I came home from school and at the weekends, I would have my sketch pad out on my oil painting board. I'd be there painting away, and then I found a video camera, and I find it very similar in editing. So I spend a lot of time making things look as abstract and giving it a style, and it's also telling a story, which is a new thing for me. So it's really cool. I really enjoy it.
I do love that. I mean, I'm a huge narrative person, so whenever I'm watching something, I want to know what's something unique about this person, and sometimes I even want to know the unique thing before I even know what they're specializing in. But like I'm so drawn to that. I do want to ask this because I'm so genuinely intrigued about this. How did you get started in filmmaking, and more specifically, how did you make that connection to, well, these guys are rolling around in the ground, I guess I could film that?
Yeah, well, basically, I went to university. I did the whole system that you meant to follow, like school. Did two foundation courses in art and design. Then went on to do a degree in content creation, whatever the hell that is. I got my degree. I got a degree, in something I have no idea what it is, but the same.
I'm going to let you know the American education system, not that much different.
Yeah, I found out afterwards that was a test course, and they never did it again. So after I left university, I was stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And for 2 years, I had no job. But at that time is when I first saw the UFC. And I was always into, like growing up where I come from, I was in street fights all the time. So I was always looking for a martial art that was effective. So I went along to karate, went along to, Aikido, and never found anything effective, when it did come down to me defending myself. So when I finally saw UFC on TV, I was like, whoa, this is real. What the hell is this? So I asked my friends, what the hell is this UFC stuff? I want to learn it. And I'm 23 at the time, just finished university, and they tell me it's MMA. Next day, I'm straight down to the nearest MMA club, and man, I just get my ass kicked. I thought I could handle myself, and I'm just getting triangled and armbarred, and I didn't know what these things were at the time, but it was the takedowns and just the way they were controlling me on the ground. I was like, why can't I get this guy off me? Like, I'm strong, but he's not moving. And it just fascinated me. So I asked him afterwards, what is this ground stuff? And they're like, this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We blend it together. And like, can I just do this separate? I'm like, yeah. So I moved back up north to my parents' house, and I took up Jiu-Jitsu full time. So even though I didn't have a job, because I fell in love with it straight away. And I definitely had a natural talent for Jiu-Jitsu. And I started winning from white belt to blue belt to purple belt. I got so many gold medals. And then unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. One time in training, my arm got dislocated the opposite way. My left arm, which is still not right today, it snapped back the opposite way. So it took me out for 9 months, but I liked being around the sport so much that I picked up I had a little video camera and started filming, just my teammates at the gym doing stuff, going down to the competitions, filming their fights. And using a little editing program, iMovie, started editing it together. And then people start, my teammates and people around me saying, Stu, you're pretty good at this, you've got a natural eye for this video stuff. So I recovered, got back into the jiu-jitsu again, started winning everything. Started doing really well. Then I get my foot broke.
Oh.
So, and then I get my foot broke again, just when I come back from my other foot. So, yeah, so to keep my mind active, I have to keep my mind active, otherwise I go crazy. So I started filming again, then my friends started saying, hey, do you want to film my wedding? Like, I'm getting married soon. So I started filming weddings and getting paid for it. I'm like, damn, I can make a living from filming weddings. So next, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, a good friend of mine, Jason Tan, who ran a grappling tournament, he hired me to film all the super fights and make a highlight of his grappling tournament, and actually got paid for it. So that's how it all happened. And then he put me in touch with Ryan Hall, and I filmed his seminar. Didn't know what I was doing, just filmed it, hoping for the best, like see if something would happen from it. And I filmed a Gunnar Nelson seminar, and then he put me in touch with Braulio Steamer, where I made the Road to ADCC documentaries. And those were the first things I ever made. And it was the response on the internet and the positive feedback where I was like, hey, I'm onto something here. I'm getting a shitload of views here. People are liking this. So I just stuck at it. I would never stick at it if people weren't watching it. Say I got 100 views. I would never have carried on, but it's the fact that they were getting thousands of views, and it was the first time anyone had seen anything in that kind of quality on jiu-jitsu. So then I got an invite to Brazil by Dennis Ash at Connection Rio, and made a documentary on Kira Gracie, then Husam Harris, and yeah, the rest is history, So I've been doing it for about four or 5 years now.
That's so impressive. And, honestly, I'm now just starting to plan a wedding. What I wouldn't give to see a Stuart Cooper Films wedding presentation, especially now how you've grown, because my brain is racking, and I'm thinking of how pure that quality has to be. I do, and I have always wondered this. I don't know that I've really heard you talk about your process of what makes you want to do a documentary on someone. Now, I imagine you're at a point now where you have, as you're alluding to here, people who are mentioning, oh my God, you got to see this guy, or you got to get this guy to shoot you. But now you've probably got people who are just like coming down after you and just being like, for the love of God, film me rolling.
Honestly, I met, I was just at the Mundials, and I was shocked because I think the documentary finally went out about me.
Yes.
And then my face was finally in front of the camera. But when I'm at the Mundials, I couldn't believe how many people recognized me.
No, you were a golden god there.
I couldn't believe it.
I was walking right next to you at several points during the Mundials, and
I was getting my photograph taken every 5 minutes. I felt like I was like Rushesha or something.
Well, I mean, you essentially were. My favorite is this interaction, and you can never say these things, but I'll say them for you.
Yeah.
I love that you have. Have you ever seen the movie Coming to America?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You know the moment when Eddie Murphy is about to go to the restroom?
Yeah.
And they recognize him as the king, and it's just these people coming up to him and being like, thank you so much. Oh my God, can I just get a picture with you? And everybody's looking like, what's the matter? Like, what's going on? They don't know that this guy's the king. But you had people coming up to you, and I love this interaction, and I think it's real, and I love that people are coming up to you and saying, like, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel about your work?
It was really nice, actually, because so many people did that, and they were all saying, thank you so much for doing this. Like, I love your documentaries. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you're doing for the community. And it was, man, stuff like that, again, it pushes me even more. I'm like, wow, I'm really making a difference here. I'm actually, like Kyle Maynard says, you've got to, whatever you do in this life, you've got to do something that means something, and you got to do something where you help other people. You inspire other people in some way. So, that's kind of why I'm sticking on to this, because I see how much of an impact I'm making on jiu-jitsu. So,
I think you are hitting a prime spot. And my biggest problem with the sport has always been that we are getting in an age where social media, digital things are happening. There's more ways to record it. And there are parts of what our history is for the sport that are very oral based. it's like they have these legends that live in the academies that don't really get communicated to everywhere.
Oh, exactly. Like one of those legends is Sergio Pena. Is it
Sergio Pena? Yeah.
Pena? Yeah. So it was actually Paul Moran from Open My Radio.
Yeah, boo! Screw that guy. Don't mention. He is the like devil that you don't mention on this show.
But that's his academy where he trains the most. So he took me down there. I trained with all the guys, and we ended up. I did some filming there, like while I'm training. That's kind of what I do. I film, I train. I film, I train. So 1 minute I'm training, then I pick up the video camera, and then I'm filming again. And we got a nice long interview with him afterwards, and that's the first interview he has ever done.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a good one when it comes out. I wish I had more footage of him, which I can definitely go back and get, which I probably will be, because I've got so many documentaries to edit. So
and I'll say this, I know a lot about his history just as a fan, but it was one thing where Paul very nicely invited me to go over to train over there. Yeah. And just seeing the vibe of that academy was so great. I had told Paul I had a really super shitty day. I was covering something for the UFC, and it was a terrible day. And I ended up calling Paul and being like, hey, man, where should I go train? He's like, go train at Sergio Pena's. And I'm like, all right, I'll go there. And you instantly see why, for this gym especially, why everybody loves him so much. He's such a great presence, and I was really happy. And the best compliment I could play to that place was it felt like rolling at home for me.
Yeah.
That was so great.
Yeah, it really was. And it was great training there because that's a really good place to train. I trained with a really good purple belt, and then the rest of them were just black belts they were putting me with. Because I was like, they didn't, I was new to their academy. I think basically I overheard them say, hey, represent our academy. So, they were giving it to me. And
oh, no, they definitely... I think probably because of all the things I've said about Paul, we're like, let's get this asshole. Let's go for it. And the best part is, I like when people don't treat me special when I go to a place.
Yes, exactly. And they didn't. That was awesome. There's a few people that knew. Recognized me from my documentaries, but not many. So I felt that was really cool. Yeah. And when I was rolling with the people. They were going for it. It was awesome, you know. So they weren't holding back, and no gi is my game. Like, I love no gi. My gi game's very rusty at the moment. Otherwise, I would have actually competed in the Mundials.
Really?
Yeah. Well, just looking at if I kept up the gi, because I've just been training no gi and wrestling and MMA for 2 years. I mean, I fought Tim Spriggs in the Europeans when we were both blue belts. And man, he beat me marginally. Like, Tim Spriggs just won his weight division at brown belt in the Mundials. Yeah. So I know for a fact, like, I've not stopped training since, at all since he has. So yeah, I would definitely want to.
I'm confused. Are you trying to get me to set something up here? Because
no,
I have not a problem being a Don King and making plenty of money off of this. Maybe this is where the Indiegogo lies.
It just kind of like let me know where I was at, even though it was such a long time ago when we competed.
Of course.
I know I'm definitely capable of winning something big, and that's where hopefully I'm going to shock people at the no-gi worlds. I'm going to enter that as a brown belt.
Oh, that's awesome.
I really want to show people that I ain't just a filmmaker. I can grapple too, especially no-gi.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen footage of you rolling. You don't look like a guy who just, let's put it this way. You don't look like a normal camera guy. I'm around dozens of camera guys. And, when you're walking around with your, 8-pack? Just on a normal day. No, it's cool. We get it. You basically have the whole, what do we like to call it? I think it was Scotty Nelson was calling you the James Bond, the Daniel Craig James Bond of jiu-jitsu.
I've been called the James Bond of jiu-jitsu and the Indiana Jones of jiu-jitsu.
Oh no, only the coolest people ever in movies. Well, too bad. Now, I
Yeah.
do got to ask you this. When you are what is it that you are looking for, though, when you are doing a documentary? And is it that when you are rolling with them, is there like another level of trust that they're affording you?
Yeah, I mean, I like to make documentaries on people who I'm a fan of, and I want to get into that. I want to see what makes them so successful. What is it that makes them so good? Get to that next level, because I do very well. With black belts, especially no-gi. I believe in no-gi. I'm up there. But then you spot the black belts that are world class. There should be another belt for those guys. And it's just feeling the power of those guys. I'm like, how the hell do they get to that level? So that's what I'm interested in. But also at the same time, I want to make a documentary on someone who I have respect for. Like, I'm not going to make a documentary on someone who's a big name, but he's an a-hole, So I've come across a few, and I regret, making documentaries on. Well, not a few. Like, I'm not going to mention anything, but
You don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing about really shitty human beings is that sometimes it comes to air without you having to do anything.
Yeah, I've had some problems with some people in the past, even going to do a free documentary for them, and then they come back at me and like, hey, wait, why haven't you finished this? Why isn't this done yet? I'm like, dude, just think to ask first what's been going on in my life.
Yeah.
You've no idea, and then actually, and I don't want to tell them, what personal things have been going on in my life. But then it gets to the point where I have to tell them, right? And, so.
I mean, whenever somebody is really ridiculous to me and comes at me in that kind of form, my first instinct is to always try and illuminate how crazy they sound by doing it right back at them.
Yeah.
So whenever they do that, it's like, you're not my dad. Stuff like that where they're just like, well, and it's like, no, but seriously, dude, shit's happened.
Yeah.
We all are grown adults, and we all have things that take our time.
Yeah, I mean,
and when you're putting it in, it's a project of passion. There's a certain kind of accountability that is harder to have.
Yeah. Okay, I definitely find the people that I make documentaries on, it's never in a horrible way, but the people who I shoot, they're always asking, like, oh, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? I'm like, dude, like, it's been a week. Just chill out. And then I get emails from every day. Is it ready yet? I'm excited. I'm anxious to see it. Is it ready? I'm like, come on, man. Just leave me alone. You can't rush out. If you want me to get it out tomorrow, it's going to be shit. But if you just be patient, it's going to be good.
I will say this is because a lot of our sport, a lot of people just don't do filmmaking as a hobby.
Yeah.
We all have our different talents and what we're good at. And I find that, sometimes people who specialize at being really good at jiu-jitsu may not know that, in the time it took you to roll and conduct like a 2-hour class, this footage still hasn't rendered.
Yeah, exactly.
So just a heads up, everybody. Keep that into consideration. It'll take 29 classes for this footage to render.
Yeah,
Does that make sense to you?
Yesterday, for some reason, my Kurt Osiander documentary, it failed on the export, so I had to export it again. It took all day. It took the whole day on my laptop. So then I had to export it again to compress it so it fits on YouTube. That took overnight, and now I'm finally uploading it. So just exporting it takes 2 days. 2 days on my laptop, anyway. That's because I spilled coffee on it.
Well, maybe one of these days you can walk people through, and they have the different sizes that you can export those videos for. Why don't you just make like an iPhone export style and be like, oh yeah, it's finished, here you go. And they're like, why is this quality so shitty? Well, you get what you pay for, folks. I do have to ask this, what is coming up in your future? Where do you see this going? I know that you've just signed with Five Grappling, which I love those guys. I think it's a great marriage, and I personally am both fan of you and them, so I really can't wait to see what you guys are doing. But tell us, what do you have in the future? Like, where do you see this going?
Yeah, so basically, I've teamed up with Five Grappling, which is something I've been waiting for so long. I was literally about to go. I had my bags packed, ready to go back to Thailand and start this editing. Because I had a job at Tiger Muay Thai, teaching jiu-jitsu, and it's just an amazing place. It's paradise out there. And just before I got hours before I was about to get on the plane, you know, I had a meeting with the five guys, and I have a lot of people approaching me all the time. So I never take them seriously. I've lost count how many meetings I've had, and people basically wanting shit for free, and I'm like, right. Yeah. So I didn't know what they were about to offer me, and then they were really nice guys, and they basically told me all about the tournament, where they want to take it, and they want to make it the most prestigious, you know, grappling tournament on the planet. So like ADCC, you know, and better than IBJJF, which I think it's definitely going to go in that direction. So they've hired me to be like, you know, the head of the video department, and to make all the videos and the highlight reels, you know, look absolutely like crisp, and all the promotion videos, and, you know, start making kind of countdown shows. But I'll do it in my own abstract way.
Sure.
You know, it's not going to be your typical UFC formula or the Meta Morris formula.
It's going to be like Keenan Cornelius hasn't eaten for a week to make this fight.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of voiceover stuff, you know. So I think sometimes it's like the saying, less is more. Yeah. So if you have less stuff, less money, it makes you more creative.
So true.
So it's definitely true, because, you know, I'm not going to say which company I was actually with at Black House the other day, but they had a big camera crew, and they're shooting, and I'm right next to them, you know, with, you know, half the equipment, even like not even that they've got. And I'm thinking to myself, mine is going to turn out better than yours. And you don't even know it.
I have to say this. This is so refreshing that, you know, not only are you a guy who does want to be a competitor in the jiu-jitsu circuit, and I love that, and I really would love to see you doing and tearing shit up at Nogi Worlds. But I love that you also have a competitive spirit to give the best product possible.
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's great getting positive feedback, and another thing, I think people like my documentaries because I do the sport myself. The questions I ask are not like, so what do you do in the morning? What do you eat? You know, how many calories do you have a day? How many? Do you do weightlifting? Like, I don't ask bullshit questions like that. Right. You're not getting to know the true person. I like to ask, you know, really like get into the mind of these people. You know, like, what do you think makes you successful? What is happiness to you? Could you have ever done like a 9 to 5 job? You know, so I really like ask different kinds of questions, and they're very open questions, and that's, you know, I make it into a conversation, make them feel very comfortable. A lot of time I turn the camera on, and they don't even realize we're rolling. And then I start having a conversation with them, and then they look at me and they're, so when are we going to start recording? I'm like, we already have. So that's cool, because the more I get really, it's more genuine. Yeah. Because as soon if you make it very like formal, like, okay, so question 1, like it can be fake a lot of the time, and then, you know, a lot of the answers can be not fake, but, you know, a bit more.
People who aren't media trained tend to turn on a certain persona when they're performing, if they aren't really consistently used to being in front of a camera. And it is hard, because a lot of people who do teach jiu-jitsu and who do mixed martial arts have a teacher mentality. So sometimes they can speak naturally, but they're not used to just being interpersonal. Like, they're not used to being interpersonal in front of a camera. If you're asking me and I'm not used to it, it's like, my day's great. You know, I've just been so overwhelmed. I have to say, it's overwhelming. You know, it's a difference in somebody's voice, and it's very easy to tell that authenticity. So let's say, you know, with Five Grappling, I think the thing that's great with you and them is you get that access to not only the matches but the athletes, which is a huge thing for us to understand their motivations and why they're doing what they do. So I'm going to put this on you.
So special as well.
Yeah, I'm going to put this on you, though. Again, no pressure.
Yeah, sure.
But make them good. because I think that when people talk about competition, I think we see all of those tournaments that are really stuffy about the footage and media access. I think they're going to have to start bending their rules if there's more competition. And I think it really is only a matter of time before people are able to take those prosumer cameras that they have when they go to the Mundials and they go to Worlds, they go to all these different tournaments, and they can get high quality footage.
And one thing we're doing with Five is we're trying to get as many of the big names. Like we've already got Lovato Jr. competing and Clark Gracie. We want to get like the Bucheches and Bralo Estima and Hodolfos competing in the pro divisions. And we're going to get profile videos, just basically documentaries made by myself. And then we're going to have like possibly, in the future have, this is where we're going, like tournaments and have like, again, like kind of like countdown shows done in my own style, and they're all fighting for this one belt. Yep. So we're going to have like a belt for the pro division and for the other lower divisions, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then pros. So like one of the prizes is no matter what division you're in, you'll actually get a video made by myself where like, your average blue belt will win a prize, and I'll come down and make a documentary on them and see how they get into jiu-jitsu. So that's
so cool.
Bonus of competing in Five. So we just need to make sure the top level grapplers know that hey, we're making this Five grappling, like we're going to take it to the next level. This is going to be the tournament to go to. This is
So is this a good time to remind people you have an Indiegogo? Because all of the work that you consider that has to be, but not only that, but the fact that you're not just thinking about the top athletes, but you're thinking about the people who want to make names for themselves.
Yeah.
Having the ability and access to do that. So yeah, I mean, guys, and I've broken this down, Stu, a couple times in my head.
Yeah.
Let's say, like you said, if everybody gave $1.
Yeah.
That would be life-changing in terms of what it is that you're producing out there. But, I mean, think of it this way. For every documentary that you see of Stu's, just count how many minutes you are watching and then divide it by $1 and really see if you can't justify sending maybe even a couple more.
Yeah. I mean, like $1, I mean, it's nothing, and I really hope that people don't rip it off and put it on YouTube for free, because that's just really low considering it's $1. But I wanted to keep it for free online by people donating $1, because that was the idea. Keep it online for free on YouTube. But because people haven't donated, I have to take the next step, which is make a pay-per-view website, which I didn't want to do, but that's what I have to do. If I have to, to carry on doing this, otherwise I've got to find another way to pay the bills.
Yep. No, so I agree.
Thing about me making these films is it gives the athletes more exposure, and it's taking the sport to the next level. Me making these documentaries, I've just started making these 40-minute documentaries to an hour, and it's taking the sport to a bigger stage, that it deserves. So like I said, it gives the athletes more exposure. It gives them a chance to get more sponsors and get the name out there. So by everyone donating, you're not donating to me, you're donating to the sport, and we're all working together. So people need to realize you're not giving me money. You're helping me grow this sport together. We're all working together.
True fact. Stu, I want to thank you so much, really, for stopping by here. I love hearing your process. I love hearing the passion that you bring to it. And as a person who does filmmaking on the side as a hobby, I'm so in awe of what it is you're doing, and I really appreciate that you are doing that for the community.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem. Now, you guys, you want to go ahead and go over to check out the Indiegogo with Stuart Cooper. If you need more information, you can find it on our website. We're also going to be tweeting out the link a couple times. If you're looking for Stu, you can also find him on Twitter at Stu.
Stu Cooper Films on Twitter.
Sweet. And you're also on Instagram at that same one as well?
Stuart Cooper Films is on Instagram. And if you're having trouble finding the Indiegogo link, just go on Google and type in Stuart Cooper Indiegogo, and it'll come up right at the top.
It better be. I mean, if there's another Stuart Cooper asking for money, I'm not giving him any. But no, it's a great thing. And, Stu, it's only a matter of time before, maybe the reason people aren't donating it, you haven't done a Verbal Tap documentary, and maybe that'll be the thing that puts you over one of these days. But we can talk about that another time, my man. I want to thank you so much for making time to talk with us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, buddy.
I just want to say a very big, a big thanks to all the people that, came up to me at the Mundials and were very polite and just, said very kind things to me, how good of a job I'm doing. So that meant a lot. People coming up to me like that was really kind. It was because it never happened to me before. So that was really cool. That was cool.
That's awesome. Stuart Cooper, everybody. Guys, I think you'll agree with me. This has been the best episode of Verbal Tap Podcast. Don't you agree, Kevin?
No, I don't agree with you. That's harsh. Though the birds, is that why you were saying, or because I was gone for most of it?
Kev, I do have to ask this. Have you literally just been sitting there the whole time I've been doing this podcast?
Yes, I haven't moved. Just, smoking the fine, breathing in the fine Kansas mist. Mm-hmm. You might say I'm high on the I can't even, I'm so terrible with this. Okay, I'll just get to the end of the podcast part. You gave me some time for shout outs, which I appreciate. I'm going to start with our family lab Bree, who's right here, and her friend, the barn cat Cole, who just happened to put on the Phillips household, and they started feeding him and whatever. The rest is history. It's like a children's book around here. Thanks to Boise State and all those.
This is how Kevin shoutouts go when he's back in Kansas. I'd like to shout out
of there.
My dog, this house cat that became a wildcat, this tree, and I mean trees. Hey.
I like that you went with the George Bush voice too. That was
no. The thing is, Kevin, I can't really hurt your feelings. I've done impressions of you on the show when you're not around.
Oh,
so
damn.
Like,
I don't even care.
Oh, they're pretty good.
I have to listen to this podcast for a change. Hey, my family has obviously been hosting me, so the Phillips family. Thanks, and that's about it for my shout-outs. Probably going to stop by BJJ, hopefully Friday or Saturday. That's all I got.
Sweet. And while you're out there, apparently Bubba, the Bubbasaurus, is going to be fighting on Bellator.
Ooh!
So be sure to look that. I think he's actually close to you, so you might want to look that up.
Shit, really?
Yeah, you definitely should look that up. I meant to tell you that, but I was like, I don't know how much shit he's got. But clearly, if you're outside with the birds, I think you've got some time to kill.
Having a little podcast break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, let's definitely shout out the Bubbasaurus.
Oh, shout out to you, also, Raph, for carrying the load.
Bah.
Yes, to the Bubbasaurus, but also to Raph Esparza for his 90-10 work this week.
Yeah, it's nothing unusual. I'm usually carrying this podcast on my shoulders anyway.
I was actually sing it. I thought you were going to counter with 95.5, but I'll take it.
Nah, I was going to be nice to you, but just be a dick and credit myself more than I need
Off
to.
air, yeah, while you're talking to Dreamy McEvans.
Why don't you shout out John Evans?
Why would I? You guys after my life. He's going to start growing his hair out and making really douchey generalization metaphors. That's what he's next.
How dare you? That's so mean. I'm going to tell him that. He's going to break your arm.
He honestly might.
I will tell you this during practice today. John doesn't know this yet. He'll figure it out once we see this footage, I guess. But one of the guys was rolling with John, put a camera out so that he could have it recorded of him and John. And I saw that the angle wasn't right, so I went to go fix the camera angle. And I immediately started commentating as John Evans. So I was talking as myself, being like, wow, John, what do you think about that movie that he's doing right there?
You were interviewing yourself?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then on the other side, you just hear being, oh, well, the funny thing that he's doing right here is John Evans is actually, oh, yep, here it comes. It's a very sneaky choke. And as you'll see right here, he's looped it in underneath. Now, you want to go underneath because if you go over the top, then you don't quite get the choke in. And sure enough, John stops rolling. He gets the tab. He comes over to the kid, and he starts teaching right then and there. And what does he say? It's a very sneaky choke. What you need to do is you need to go here and here. And I'm just trying to contain my laughter over to the side before he realizes what's happened. And the guy whose video it was, he looked at me and he goes, I want to hear what you were saying because we couldn't hear what you were saying, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting. I was like, it's nothing. Bah, it's nothing.
Tell kid that was rolling that filmed it, I need a copy.
Yeah. I think you'll enjoy it, Kevin.
They should post it to BJJBreakdown.com.
Oh, of course. Geez, I mean, I would love to see that right there.
Oh, yeah,
God.
that's good.
Oh yeah, no, that's. Oh gosh, Kevin, you know I love that you're in Kansas. That's amazing.
It's getting good.
It's always been good. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's really good. It's hard to tell.
But we would definitely want to thank John for stepping in this week to essentially be co-host. So that's really, really cool of him. I guess I want to shout out everybody who helped make this one possible. So all of our friends from VMAC, good luck at the tournament, everybody. I've been rolling with you guys. You're all killers, so you're going to be great. Check us out this weekend. We're going to be at a seminar. We're hosting a seminar with our buddy Travis Connolly. That's going to be out in Encino, so you guys definitely want to come check that out. It is Saturday, 1 to 4, $10. Guys, $10 for 3 hours, 1 to 4 p.m. You are going to want to be there. We're going to have more information put up on the Verbal Tap fan page, but I can't tell you how much information you're going to get for those 3 hours from this guy. Then the next day, I'm going to be covering the baddest brown and baddest purple, which Travis is competing in, and 31 other brown belt killers in an invitational, and there's going to be a purple belt tournament, which guess what, Kev?
Yes?
Guess who's competing in that purple belt tournament?
Who?
Only the owner of Dream Jiu-Jitsu, Sean Megami.
Shamagame? No way!
So not only is the organizer, Sean, competing in the tournament that he's putting together, but he told them when they were getting the brackets, he's like, honestly, give me the hardest person. Like, just don't make it easy on me. He goes, because worst case scenario, I'm out and I'm running the tournament again, so don't worry about me.
That's awesome.
I think that's super commendable, and that's the kind of guy he is. So, guys, it's going to be taking place 8 a.m. over in Santa Fe. Check out. We'll have more details up on the fan page and on our Verbal Tap Twitter. But I hope to see you guys there. And there's rumor you'll see me around maybe talking to some people down there, too. So stay tuned for more information about that. And shout out to our good friends, to everybody I saw over at Worlds. I know I covered a little bit of that with John, but just our eternal thanks to everybody for making that such a fun event. And we were excited to be a part of it, and we will definitely be there in full force again next year.
Raph, you want to hear my world story? My only world story?
Go for it.
Today, while my niece and nephew were watching a children's program, I watched about 7 matches from the tournament, and will continue to.
Wow, what a good babysitter you are.
I'm fantastic.
Well, Kev, you'll have plenty to share because it looks like we'll be getting the band back together again for another installment of Around a Mat, our video series talking about Worlds and some other cool BJJ-related issues that have been coming up. So look for that coming to a YouTube screen near you very soon.
Around the Mat, I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll do it for this edition of Verbal Tap. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for totally chilling with us, even though we were missing our partner. And we will have Kevin back next week, come hell or high water.
Or if I have to jump on the next tornado, right at that direction.
So for this, what the hell is that, Kevin?
That's a train in the background.
Are you fucking serious?
About 2 miles from a train.
We're literally talking about how you will take any transportation to get there, and there's a fucking train going in the background.
Maybe I'll just do that.
Just jump on that. Guys, for Verbal Tap, this has been Raph Esparza.
Hey, train, hold on. This is Kevin Phillips. Thanks for listening. Thanks, train.
The train was really funny.